Hello, and welcome back to the Leashed podcast, Mental Health and Dog Training. I'm your host, Mandy Bowtell. On today's episode, I speak with Malena DeMartini, author of Separation Anxiety Dogs and Treating Separation Anxiety in Dogs. Malena is also the creator of the certification course where dog trainers can become certified to become separation anxiety specialists. Obviously, Malena has plenty of experience with compassion fatigue, working around, catering to clients' emotional needs and still being able to prioritize herself and her mental health within her business, and how she passes that on to her CSAT students and her staff so that their mental health is still being taken care of and prioritized within their business. Because I feel like, yes, dog trainers as a whole, we do not prioritize our mental well-being, whether it be in our business or our day-to-day. But I think it's dog trainers, and then it's also the aggression and separation anxiety trainers. That anytime you specialize in something, you're going to take on more of an emotional role from the owner's perspective, because these dog guardians, owners that are struggling with these, whether it be severe reactivity, aggression, separation anxiety, these are life altering things, not only for the dogs, but for the people. And the people that are going through that, as someone who has had a dog with separation anxiety, it is very hard to, not bleed that onto other people because you just want to have that support. And so, again, the dog trainers that work in these specific niches of aggression, reactivity, separation anxiety, they are hitting a whole other level of compassion fatigue because they are essentially a rock for their clients when they are going through these really big behavior things that are going on. And so Malena and I kind of just really delved in on prioritizing yourself within your business, and making sure to have boundaries with clients, and how to make sure to take care of yourself with your work so that you're not just constantly drowning in work like Milena and I kind of do. We did commiserate on how, we're not the best at prioritizing our mental health within our businesses. So it's very refreshing to hear that, we aren't alone in these feelings, especially from someone that is so successful with their business. But Milena wouldn't have been this successful if she didn't see where she needed to delegate and change certain systems within her business to take care of herself. So again, it always goes into taking care of yourself so that you are taking care of your clients in the long run. I'll stop talking about it because I never explain these things as good as they sound. So let's just get into the episode right now. I'll stop talking. Welcome back to the Leashed podcast. I have Malena DeMartini with me, and I'm so excited to dive into all things mental health and CSAT trainers. Malena, I am so excited to have you on the podcast.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Mandy. I really appreciate you asking.
Course. I think that there are so many CSAT trainers out there, and I think it's so important that they do prioritize their mental health because it's quite the undertaking. Especially, I know my husband has gone through it. He's gone through your course and been on your staff, and I have seen how working with setbanks can just be a lot on one's mental health.
It certainly can. I think that, a lot of types of behavior modification that we work with as dog trainers can be really taxing, but I don't know. I think there's like an extra little oomph when we're working with separation anxiety clients because there's a lot of emotional roller coaster time
Oh,
in
yeah.
dealing with these day to day tiny little increments that we're working on.
And not to mention just kind of being the emotional soundboard for the clientele.
Absolutely. It's one of the interesting things about working with separation anxiety clients is that most of them feel particularly isolated for the reasons of they're not leaving their dog alone. And unfortunately, it is really misunderstood insofar as your average person thinks, what? You're not leaving your dog alone ever? And what? It's been a month and you're only at 4 minutes? What? This is crazy.
Can't you drop
And
them at daycare?
Exactly, or just leave him alone, he'll get over it, all that kind of those kinds of, recommendations, and so it's hard because I think there's a lot of naysayers that just don't understand what the client is going through, so we're kind of this lifeline for the client where we're like, "No, you're doing exactly what you need to do in order to help improve the welfare of your dog."
And you're kind of an advocate for them. You're reassuring them, like, no, it is okay to feel this way. You are not alone. And like, here, I'm going to make you feel okay with having to do this.
Yeah. There's a ton of really important empathy and validation of feelings. Like, I really see a lot of clients that, pieces of the protocol we can't make go any faster. We can only go at the pace of the dog. But they need to not only hear that we're gonna do everything that we can to realize success, but they also need to hear that it's okay for them to feel overwhelmed or frustrated or disappointed on certain days or, those sorts of things. And those are normal feelings that are absolutely appropriate for them to be able to express and to share and know that there's no judgment there.
Right.
They can go on that emotional roller coaster, and we'll be right there with them.
To an extent, because we do need
To
to
an
prioritize
extent.
our own mental health. Yes.
To an extent. I mean, we will be there with them, certainly supporting, and guiding the training protocol and, allowing them to feel the highs and the lows, the celebration and the cheerleading when needed.
Right, exactly. So, I'm excited to go into that whole topic with you because I know we're just gonna spiral off on that. But I do wanna know kind of just how you even got started on establishing a CSAT course, what attracted you to separation anxiety, and kind of where your mental health played a role in that in the beginning.
Yeah, so those are multiple in those questions. I suppose I'll start with why I was, attracted to separation anxiety in the beginning, and it's kind of funny because I typically tell people that separation anxiety chose me. I did not choose it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, my one of my very first cases was a separation anxiety case. I was a fresh, brand new green trainer out of the Academy for Dog Trainers, and I got a call back in the day when you just picked up your phone when people
Right.
called.
No caller ID.
No caller ID, nothing. Yeah, 22 years ago now. And and she was just crying and overwhelmed about what was she going to do. And I was very transparent and said, gosh, I'm a really green trainer. I would like to, I think you would be best served to work with another trainer. And she said, through her tears, she said she understood, but if I was going to give her a name or two of another trainer, would they be able to work with separation anxiety? Because I was the 7th trainer that she had
Oh,
spoken to
gosh.
that had turned her down. And
I can't
exactly, and
even
I
imagine where she was emotionally. I just felt that in my
exactly.
chest.
Exactly. And, in an instant, not only did I have tremendous empathy for obviously what she was going through with her dog, but also just the perseverance that she was like, I'll just keep calling and I'll find someone. And so I said, well, I'm willing to, I said, you're absolutely right. I'm going to probably give you 2 or 3 names and they're probably going to say they don't work with separation anxiety. And I don't want to see that happen to you. So I told her I would work with her. And if it got above my head, that we would find other resources. And that was sort of the beginning. And I just started to really fall in love with the process, with the dogs, with the people. And it became something that I was really passionate about. There's nothing like seeing a dog that is originally just terrified and struggling and seeing them however long later
Relax.
just slum and sleeping on the couch
Yep.
and just be okay about things.
That is beautiful. I love that just that one client kind of steered that for you.
Absolutely. And really what ended up happening was that once people heard that I had resolved this dog separation anxiety, everyone was
You
like,
were the
ah,
person.
yeah. It was like everyone was like, well, we don't want to take it, so we'll give it to you. And so funny bit about that though, talking about self-care and where I was mentally, that case, while it was very successful, was the beginning of a long string of realizing number one, total imposter syndrome, right? I'm like, I've done one case and it happened to be successful, but I don't know what I'm doing. It really propelled me to make a commitment to really helping these dogs and sort of researching along the way because we didn't
Was there
work with
anything there
it.
then?
There was nothing
Yeah.
really. Let's stuff a food toy and use the crate, and there were all things that we didn't do separation anxiety this way back then.
Right.
And it was about 10 years of working with clients and saying, I'm going to work with you in full transparency. I'm not sure what exactly is going to be the most efficient and effective for you and your dog, but we'll go through this together. And those first 10 years were very much figuring out which pieces of the puzzle were the most important for these dogs and which ones were not needed or not very effective. But that brings me to the question that you said, and how did all of this come about? How did the business, piece come into play, the CSAT
Yeah.
program? So fast forward to 2013. So I had already been exclusively working with separation anxiety since around 2001, 2002.
Oh, wow.
And I owe this so much to Veronica Bowtell, which of course you know Veronica quite well. I reached out to Veronica in just quite a not good place from a self-care and mental health perspective because
Were you just
I
overwhelmed and
I
kind
was
of
yeah, what had happened was I had finally really developed a protocol that was very successful. We're starting to realize pretty impressive progress with the clients that I was working with, but I didn't know a single person that worked with separation anxiety the way that I did. And
Mhm.
so people were referring and referring and referring, and I was just bring it on, bring it on, bring it
Oh,
on.
that's so much for one person.
It was a lot, and I look back at the number of cases that I was carrying at that time, and I think, "How on earth was I working these 12-hour days, 7 days a week kind of thing?" I mean, I
Oh,
really was
yeah.
burning the candle at both ends, but I didn't know anyone that I could refer to that
Right.
I felt because they were like, "We'll stuff a food toy and use a crate," and I'm like, "Well, I know that doesn't work."
Right.
So I talked to Veronica and I said, I don't know what to do. I'm so overwhelmed and I can't maintain this kind of caseload. And we kind of brainstormed a little. And she said, you should consider hiring an apprentice, bringing on an apprentice and teaching them so that you have someone to refer to. And I was like, wow, yeah, that's a really good idea.
Sure,
I
give
said,
me
"Oh,
one more thing I need to do, Veronica.
well, that's exactly what I, in the moment, that's so funny that
Right,
you say
because you
that.
were
I was
so
like,
trigger stacked, I'm sure.
yeah, and I thought, how on earth am I gonna find the time to train a brand new apprentice on this stuff, right?
Right.
And she's like, "You will, that we'll get there, we'll get there." So we ended the call and I thought, "Okay, let me think about developing some sort of, curriculum for an apprentice." And a few days later, we talked again and I said, I'm gonna fill that apprentice's dance card in like a hot second. And she said, well, maybe you could, train two people at the same time. And it was like
Oh,
at that moment, the light bulb went off for both of us, and we were like, "Oh,
of
wow.
course. Oh.
Oh." And, talk about imposter syndrome. I remember telling Veronica, and she said, "I can't wait to tell you I told you so one day."
She loves that. She loves
She
bringing that
loves
up
it. She loves it. And she loves I mean, and she does it so
in the
kindly.
best way possible, right.
Yeah. But I kept saying, "It's just desensitization. Everybody knows how to do this. I don't have anything to teach anybody that's new."
Oh
And
my god.
she said, "I think you'll be surprised." And so we started out with the first 5 students,
When was
and
that?
that was the beginning of 2014, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. Or maybe it was the end of 2014. And boy, the program has evolved and we've got over 200 CSATs. And obviously there's a tremendous demand for what CSATs do.
Oh,
So
yeah.
that's where it started. And boy, was I overwhelmed and like, how can I do this? And so scared to teach people and teach, people something that was different. Things really started to grow after we started to graduate the first couple of classes of CSATs. I thought, oh, maybe there's really a need for this.
Oh my god. I'm still wrapping my head around the fact that you were doing this for 10, 11, 12 years, and then all of a sudden you have, 200 graduates and a full staff, and you're not like swimming this whole thing on your own and you're able to refer out. That has to feel incredible. Like that is
It really
quite an accomplishment.
Thank you. I wish I could say I planned these things really effectively but I didn't, no.
That's how the
And
best ones happen.
yeah, yeah. And at this point in time, I feel like I have such a profoundly supportive network of people,
That
not
you
only,
grew, though.
well,
You did
yes.
it.
But I mean, I have really been able to surround myself with some incredible, incredible human beings. And while there are still challenges, because that's just part of running a business,
Oh, yeah.
I think that the support that I received from that we share with so many incredible CSATs is just really life altering, truly.
I feel like it goes without saying, although it does need to be said, just to give a shout out to the CSATs, that I feel like it's so important to have some type of empathy and tenderness within yourself to be willing to help people and do this and know that they are going to be in an emotional state and you are that rock for them while they're working through it. Because I don't, and maybe that's just because I know you and my husband was on your staff. He worked through all the CSAT stuff, so I saw firsthand. But I don't think you can go in to be a CSAT without having that tenderness and open understanding of what these people are going through and how much it really is impacting their lives day to day.
I completely agree. And it is a large element of our program is talking about that empathy in combination, of course, with some important boundaries. And
Yeah.
considering our ability to help only is as good as our ability to care for ourselves as well, right? It's
Yes.
very, very much, secure your mask first, right?
Yes, I love that. How do you go about do you really break that down in the course of help your clients, but, put your own mask on first and make sure you're not burning yourself out? How do you go through that in the course without divulging too much of the course to people?
Right. I think it's very much sprinkled throughout the whole course where each and every aspect that we're talking about with the training and the protocol and all the pieces, we have a reframe about how we can approach all of these training elements from an empathetic standpoint. But we also take a lot of time for we have the amazing Jessica Dolce does a webinar for us on compassion fatigue and it
Nice.
really breaks down like which aspects of what we are doing need a particular attention from us so that we can uphold that self-care, that kindness and awareness of what we are able to give and where our boundaries need to reside.
Nice. I love that. That's so important and so overlooked, not even in the training world, just day-to-day life. I feel like that gets overlooked.
Great. I so agree.
With building the course out and with taking on your clients and figuring out how you even wanted to grow the business, was there a certain point where you knew that you had to have steps in place to help grow, but also keeping yourself grounded and prioritizing your mental health throughout the process so that you wouldn't fall apart at the end of it?
There were a lot of and I'm very lucky in this way. My mother, who is just a funny character, she used to tell me every time I got a cold or every time I, scraped my knee, she would say, "Be thankful because if you get a bunch of little things, it might be better than having the big thing, right?"
Oh, I like that perspective.
And I was, as a kid, I was
You're
like,
like,
whatever, mom.
whatever. Yeah.
Uh, but I look back at that, and that's been a process in growing this business is that I have always been, and it's been, fairly constant, like, oh, there's a new challenge. But
Right.
none of the
Always.
challenges, yeah, but none of the challenges have been so insurmountable that it all falls apart, right? It's
Right.
all been those little challenges that cumulatively we're able to handle. And I think I don't remember exactly the year, but we had grown in number of CSATs and we were taking on clients and we had a building some structure in the business. And I realized pretty quickly that it was time to get some help.
Oh, really? How
and
far into that were you?
I think it was only about a year and a half after I started
Okay.
teaching the CSAT program that I brought some staff on, not only staff for working with separation anxiety clients, but even just administrative support
Oh, I bet.
and we continue to grow with that administrative support. And if I, boy, I sure have my faults and foibles with respect to not maintaining self-care to the utmost perfection. But if I were to say one of the things that I have been successful with in keeping myself sane most days, uh, is, is really delegating and leaning into the support that others can offer. And it's amazing that the difference between being okay with saying, this is you, you got this, uh, person A or person B or person C, and knowing and trusting that they do indeed have it, as opposed to jumping in there and micromanaging. Because I really think that that is stuff that makes people really overwhelmed and it overwhelmed on both sides, right? Micromanaging that individual is going to make them a little nutty, and micromanaging the individual that is doing the micromanaging is going to get a little nutty. And so it's a lose-lose. So I think delegating appropriately has been something that I've been lucky to be comfortable with. And it's made a really big difference for me.
Now, I know so many trainers that are listening to this right now are just like, but I don't have the money to delegate, or I don't want someone to take over this aspect. It's going to be too stressful. Is there something that you would say to someone that is on the fence of possibly just, getting someone to check their emails or do intake for them? What is one piece of advice you would give for someone that's debating it?
Well, I think first is, oh, I don't have the money for that or the resources to spend on that. I understand that. I feel that to my core,
Same.
because yeah, I understand how the dollar doesn't stretch nearly as far as one would want it to. I think starting somewhere to delegate that one, even if it's just a small thing, just
Like once
someone
a week even.
once a week, a couple of hours, a month or something where someone is able to take just one thing off of your plate. And I think trusting and believing in the fact that if you find that right person, that they will actually virtually pay for themselves. I mean, I really believe that. And, not to mention in our industry, we have so many hungry people uh I mean emotionally hungry
Right.
to do more work within our industry. And I really feel that finding excellent people to support us is quite available, particularly when we're saying, hey, let's see what a couple of hours a month can be. And just starting with that one thing. And I think developing the ability to delegate effectively is a skill. It is a
Oh,
skill.
absolutely. I'm still
And you
learning it.
gotta yeah, I would think we all are. And you've gotta start with that one thing and feel comfortable with that one thing before you can start to feel comfortable with the 2 things or the 5
Right.
things, right? I mean, it's basically a separation anxiety protocol, gradual and systematic.
Right, I love that. That's a great way of approaching it because I feel like, and I know for me included, as someone who is neurodivergent, I have a very hard time thinking of the one thing. I can't think of everything under the umbrella, and then I can't weed through what I need to work on, what I need to delegate. I just get overwhelmed by the umbrella of all the tasks. And I think being able to just say, okay, this is one thing that is not my skill set and it's a little mundane for me to do. I could afford to have someone work on this, 2 days out of a week or 2 days out of the month. And you're right. I think that does eventually pay for itself because your time is going into something that's more valuable and that's going to help you in the long run while they're helping keeping the wheel turning so that you're not getting trigger stacked.
Very much so. And I love that you pointed out, particularly like this is not necessarily my strength or my skill set that I'm best at. Because that's where having support does really pay for itself. Because
Yes.
the strengths that we do have, if we use those and capitalize those are the ones that expand our business or bring us more clients or all that stuff. And clocking away at a spreadsheet to figuring out the accounting thing,
Oh God,
mm,
no.
not the best use of many people's time, right? When we're so good at working with clients and working on our businesses.
Exactly. Exactly. And I think, these people, they want to be dog trainers, they want to help owners and better their careers and better their knowledge. That's they run a business, but like they are not meant to know all the business happenings. You are not meant to do it all. That is not how successful businesses work. And I feel like I am beating myself in the head saying that because I am in the same boat. It's taken me years to learn to delegate and not do everything.
Right. And there is a really interesting phenomenon. I bet there's probably a psychological term for it, but where we get to the point where we are holding on so tightly to every little aspect in our business that we're actually creating an emotional and even logical or dysfunction in by just holding on to it all so tightly. And so learning how to let go, whether that's that one piece for a couple of hours a month that can develop over time. I think it's an important emotional road, not just a business success road, right?
It's funny you said that there's probably research. There is, because I was speaking with Malena, you referred me to Annie Fenix of Midnight Dog Walker so that I can have her on the podcast, and I was actually
Okay.
messaging with her, and she said that there is actually, the US Census Bureau said that the maximum amount of, bandwidth and years that someone is a dog trainer is 2 years. I am that category. I was taking clients for 2 years and then I tapped out because I was so overwhelmed, and I was running the business with my husband and it was still too much for me. But just learning that we're losing so many people within 2 years because they are overwhelmed by the business aspect, they don't know what they wanna focus on, that just blew my mind.
I had no, I mean, I assumed it
It
was,
makes sense.
yeah, I assumed it was pretty staggering, but I didn't know it was quite that staggering. 2 years. Wow. It's amazing to think about how many truly qualified, skilled, and empathetic people fall into that category when if we could just provide the appropriate resources like Annie is starting to do, like you are doing in this podcast, so that people don't feel so alone and they don't feel that they have nowhere to turn. I think
Exactly.
it's so important.
With your CSAT grads and staff, do you guys have moments where you just kind of vent and let it out and commiserate and talk about, what's weighing on them to kind of help just have more community?
We do. We meet monthly, which is typically more educational, but we do have time to just talk about what is happening in the world of being a CSAT. We also I feel really lucky that we have such a sense of community. We have a closed Facebook group where we celebrate and we commiserate. There are so many in both of those buckets that we need to address. And I think having that community and having that sense of availability of people and their wisdom makes a big difference. This is a hard issue to work on if you're out in the middle of the ocean in your own boat. So that's
Yes.
not going to happen. It's not going to happen. So yeah, we're really lucky that we have such a collaborative group, and now you've made me think that we should increase and
Well,
have
I'm not giving you more
more.
work.
No, no, I mean, increase the number of times that we meet, because right now it's only monthly, and I'd love to see people have another touchstone somewhere in there.
All right. So let's talk about burnout because I literally am coming off of being burnt out. Oh, how I know it's inevitable and it does happen to the best of us. Sometimes we get too excited, we work too hard and we hit a wall. How do you try to prevent it if possible? And I'll have a follow-up question for after.
It's a great question. It's also, I think it's also a very personal, I don't mean personal for me. I just mean it's a, like
It's different
each,
for everybody.
it's different for everybody. What each individual needs to help stave off that burnout is going to be unique to that individual. I joke with my husband all the time about one of these days I need to come up with a hobby. And what I
I
mean
don't
by
have time.
that, yeah. But what I mean by that is we have a lot of colleagues that have something that is completely separate from their dog training and their business that they're passionate about, right?
Mhm.
And I think that having something that is very separate from the business running day to day stuff and the client interaction stuff that fuels you is just so important. And that's where I think it becomes so individualized for each person. You know, it could be knitting for one person, it could be riding a
Gardening.
bicycle,
Yeah.
gardening, cooking, right? And it doesn't have to be any one thing. It can be multiple things. I think for me, I have not been particularly great at staving off burnout. And I will work. And then I'll go, wow, I just hit a wall.
Oh,
And then I
same.
will crash for, however long. And then as soon as I'm rejuvenated, I'm like, time to work again, so I'm probably not the best example, but I do work on it and I do try. And one of the things that I had recently done that, boy, talked about delegating. This was one of the hardest ones for me was have someone take over my calendar.
Oh my
And
god, that's so hard and trusting.
total, and you feel very vulnerable,
I
but
bet.
sometimes I open up my calendar and I'm like, look, she blocked off the whole afternoon for me. How did that happen? And
You're
it's
like,
just,
"I wouldn't do that for
I
myself."
would never have done that for
Right?
myself. Yeah. And I understand that's not for everyone, but for me, it's been helpful to have a little bit of a gatekeeper who
Yeah.
says, no, you don't need another appointment on a Thursday afternoon. Nope, you don't.
I love that. That's so awesome. So that's also just kind of like a way for you to learn to prevent burnout too. They're making you.
Right. No, for sure. It's funny because I work out with a personal trainer and I have had this conversation so many times with him. And I'll say, why is it that I am so motivated to to get things done in my business and with my students and with my clients and all this stuff? And why is it that I have to pay you to tell me to work out? Always in a joking way, but
I love it.
he's so kind that he every time I bring it up, he reminds me none of us, not a single one of us can be the best at every single thing. And leaning into someone else's ability to promote and pull out whatever strengths we need in other aspects of our life are super important. And for me, that's a personal trainer. For me, that's my colleague that takes over my calendar for me. Some things I'm just not really great at. And so I can have others help me excel there.
I love that. That's such a great answer. And I feel like you are just in my head because that is exactly how it feels for me as well. I don't know if you encounter this, but when I do try to give myself rest days, I'll still try to be productive. And my husband Josh, he'll be like, "You don't need to be doing things. Can we just rest?" And I'm like, "No, I need to like clean the house. We should do DIY this. Do you want to go work in the backyard?" And he's just like, "Sit down." Like
Right.
I can't
And
do it. Or
yes.
it's so hard or especially if I hit a wall and I'm burnt out, and my husband, he's very good at making me take breaks. I don't listen, but he's very good at trying to tell me, and he'll just be like, "Okay, so do you have things you can move around? Switch the days, move them around, take this day off." And I'll be like, "Oh, okay, I'll do that." But I won't take the day off and I'll just work on something that isn't as important, but it's something else productive. I just have to be productive, but then I never rest.
You'll laugh at this. I in December, after not only, graduating a bunch of CSATs and then back to back conferences in person for the first time in a long
First
time,
time.
I was like, oh wow, I am tired. And so my husband was like, we're going to take 5 days and we're going to rent this house. We're going to go in. And he and my administrative colleague, like they schemed, they took away my phone, they took away my laptop, they took away my iPad, everything.
I love it. Oh my
And
god.
then, but what was so interesting is I am like you too, like, oh, I have time off, therefore I'm going to be productive in some other capacity.
To try and get
Uh,
ahead, it's so
yeah,
frustrating.
ahead of what, right? I don't know.
Right, exactly.
So the first day that we went away and I had no laptop, no phone, no anything, I was really fidgety. I mean,
That's
I was
hard.
like, I
Yeah.
don't know what to do with myself. By the second or third day, I was like, I don't ever want to see a laptop or a
Right.
phone again in my life. This is great, you know. So there's that time to decompress. It's like you have to have a vacation in order to take a vacation. You need to decompress and then enjoy your time because otherwise, if we're just constantly flipping that, you know, through that phone and answering those emails, and there is never a moment of stillness.
Oh, never. No, and I think that's why I don't know how it was for you, but I feel like that's why for so many of us during 2020, we kind of just were like, "Whoa, everything is front and center and we can't get away from it." We were stuck at home. I, for
Yeah.
one, was just like, "Oh, I need to like learn how to manage this better." I think you're right. Like, in order to actually give ourselves a vacation, we need to like remove the distractions that will keep us engaged. I cannot bring my laptop with me on vacation. I barely bring my phone with me. And oh my God, if I go stay with Veronica and her husband, they have a nice riverfront property and they don't get the best cell service. So I know like, I'm just not gonna be on my phone, and if I try to work when she has her time off and she wants to hang out with me, it's like, "No, I can't." And I it's helpful being in a family that, like, takes play so seriously because I am
Yes.
not one to do that.
I am not either. So solidarity there for sure.
So, when you do get burnt out, it happens, it's inevitable, and we're hard workers. How do you bounce back from that? Because I know for me personally, I need, when I burn out, it takes me a good like 3 days to be in the burnout funk.
Right. Yeah, I would say I'm pretty similar, whether it's a day or 2 or 3 of sort of riding in that funk. I don't know, I guess I'm very lucky that I have a lot of inspiration to continue to do great stuff with my clients inspire me, their dogs inspire me, the CSATs inspire me. And so after sitting in the funk, which I don't think is a wrong thing to do, or at least it isn't for me, sort of
No,
sitting with it, then just very gradually I start to go, what a lucky life I live and what amazing people I work with. And it's just that it's like we just need to rejuvenate all of the things that bring us joy. And it's okay if part of what brings you joy is your work. It's okay, you
that's why
know?
we do it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that shows that we're in the right field if it brings us that much joy.
That's right.
And I
It
think that
does.
goes without saying though, but with imposter syndrome and the burnout, it's because this job, this career, it makes you feel so full. Like training made me feel like that, but woof culture and the leash mind, like I just feel like my heart just went like, 'cause I just get so excited to do it, and I get imposter syndrome all the time, I get burnt out all the time, but I think that's a way not that I'm encouraging any of that, but I think that's a way for you to acknowledge, like, "Oh, this is good because I feel so passionately about it."
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think that you can have that level of passion in the same vein of not caring, right? This is
No,
why
yeah,
because we care so much, whether that's about the people, about the dogs, about the business, about we're so invested because of all of the intrinsic wonderful things that come back to us.
exactly, and I that point you made about just it's okay to sit in the burnout and feel it. I feel like social media in general, I feel like it's you hear so much of, don't get burnt out, prevent the burnout. But I mean, I agree. There's nothing wrong with sitting with those feelings and saying, wow, I worked really hard. I'm overwhelmed. I'm overstimulated. I'm hitting a wall because I worked so passionately. I need to take a second, sit with it, acknowledge it, whatever you got to do, but then I feel like there's a shift and it makes you grateful for what you do and to feel
Right.
so intensely about something and know that you are helping so many people. And I don't think a lot of people acknowledge that part of the burnout.
Yeah, I really agree. I think it's so important. I think we're sort of programmed to like push a lot of our feelings away, and
Not acknowledge them.
not acknowledge them. And sometimes all they need is some acknowledgement and some recognition and some validation because they're there for a reason. And burnout is also there for a reason. And so acknowledging how we're feeling in the moment or for a few days or however long it may take, I think it's super important. I think that we can't only do that. I
No.
think we do have to take some steps of whether that's reorganizing our calendar so that we don't have to, be productive for days on end, even if we're feeling burnout or, those sorts of things, right? I mean, we do have to take other steps, but I think acknowledging and sitting with those feelings is super important too.
Exactly. And don't beat yourself up if you do get burnt out because it happens to the best of us. Like,
Absolutely. Yes.
I think the getting in our own heads and beating ourselves up of just, oh, I did this too much. I'm too exhausted. I can't do it. And then you get in your own head and then it's a shame spiral. It's okay to have that, but, remember why you're doing what you're doing. And it does get better. And this is happening because you care so much. But now let's move on and have steps in place to maybe prevent this from happening so intensely next time. I feel like the
Right.
more I get burnt out, there's, like, a little, like, break off, and then I'll go, "Okay, so next time I won't do that."
Oh my gosh, I absolutely agree. This a lot I was saying about in December that taking that time, I was, starting at that time to turn over the my calendar. And it was interesting to me because normally when I'm gone at a conference for 3 days, 5 days, whatever, I am all, oh my gosh, I have so much work to catch up on the day I get home kind of
Oh,
thing, right?
right.
I was pleasantly surprised, although I didn't feel it in that moment, that the next couple of days after I returned from the conferences were blocked off of my calendar. And I was like, but I'm so behind. You can't block off my calendar. I have so much catch up to do. I really needed it. Particularly, you were mentioning like in 2020, right? We all were home and so many different things presented to us. But because we haven't been in person for a long time, that social interaction for 4 or
Oh,
5 it is a lot of stimulation, like, we're just not used to it anymore, or I'm not anyway, and
oh,
so
same.
I needed a total break from, like, wow, I have been interacting with hundreds of people for the last, 5 days, and I need a, like, nobody talk to me kind of
Right.
day.
It's funny you say that because before I was a dog trainer, I did hair, and Josh, my husband, was a dog walker at the time. So I would come home from work and I would just want silence because I would be talking from 7 a.m. to
Yeah,
3 p.m. all the time. Go, 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 go. Asking questions. I don't care about other people's lives, but it was my job. And
right?
I would come home and Josh would just talk my ear off incessantly because he was with dogs all day. And he'll be like, "Are you mad? Why don't you wanna talk to me?" And I'm like, "I have been talking for, like, 8 hours about
Right.
shit I don't care about." Like, I you can talk at me and I'll listen, but, like, I don't have words to give you.
Yes, I
And
totally
so it's
understand.
the same thing and, like, working with clients all day, like, the last thing you wanna do is go on your social media and get random questions from strangers of, "Hey, how do I stop my dog from pulling on leash?"
Yeah. Oh my gosh, 100%.
So we've talked about burnout, we've talked about imposter syndrome, delegating, all that fun stuff. What does your typical day look like? I want to know how you kind of set yourself up to move throughout your day, starting with like you get out of bed.
Wow, that's a big question.
Oh, is it? I'm sorry.
No, in a sense, because I think if there were any pattern that I have in my life, it's the lack of pattern is my pattern.
I love
Uh,
that. That's interesting.
and I've been this way since I was a young girl.
Oh,
Whereas
okay.
every single day is to me is just a brand new opportunity to do things maybe different than I did the day before. So there are days that I hop out of bed and get the dogs out for a walk or go do a workout and, start the day that way. And there are days that I roll out of bed, throw a ponytail holder in my hair and put my nose to the grindstone and just work straight away. Right.
Oh, same.
And
Yeah.
one of the things that I think is cool about what we do in our industry, I used to work in corporate America a gajillion years ago. And it was the Monday through Friday thing, and we had Saturday, Sunday off. And I can't imagine, not only do I have just don't have any passion for going back to corporate anyway, but I can't imagine having a Saturday and a Sunday off only.
Oh God, no.
What I think is so great about what we do is the flexibility. Like maybe I don't take these big blocks of like 2, 3 days off at a time, but what I do on a Wednesday afternoon is go get my hair cut between clients or go to work out with my personal trainer. Or so I have these ways to break up my days
I love
that
that.
it's not like, "Oh, it's Saturday and I'm just taking the day off." And I do that sometimes too, but
Right.
for me, it's that flexibility of some days I will completely be in front of my computer for probably far too long. And other days I'm like, I think I'll work out with, the trainer and I'll go get a haircut and I'll take the girls out for a walk and just and it all balances out. It reminds me of how a colleague of mine when she had her children, the children were really young. And I remember having dinner at their house and she had like little bowls and like one of them was dessert and one of them was vegetables and one of them was the protein and they were all sort of in front of the kids. And I said, "Well, why don't they just eat the chocolate pudding every time, because," and she said, "What's interesting is they're given a choice. Maybe one day they will just eat the chocolate pudding for dinner. But then we'll see that the next day or within that week, they're like, I think I really want the vegetables today."
Love
And,
that. Oh my God, that's awesome.
and that's kind of how I feel like my schedule is, right? There
I
are
love
days
that.
where
You have your
gonna,
chocolate pudding.
I'm going to just have my chocolate pudding. And then there's other days that I'm definitely leaning into the broccoli.
That is such a good way to explain that. I love that. And I love how transparent you are that, it varies day to day. Cause I feel like there are some people that are just like, this is my routine and that works for them. But I love that there's that wiggle room and variability based on, how you wake up. Cause we don't always wake up in a good mood.
Right. Yeah. And for me, it really works. And my husband is the exact opposite. Like he has a very strict routine first thing in the morning and the way he maneuvers through life. And it's wonderful. I mean, we complement each other beautifully, but I know very well personally what it's like for someone that does need that routine in order to have a sense of control, maybe of their environment. I don't know if control is really the right word, but
Predictability, maybe.
predictability, right? And that brings this a certain type of person that brings them peace. Where
Yes.
for me, that is routine is just not my thing at all.
I wanna touch on how you'll go work with your trainer, you'll go get a haircut. Those are ways you implement self-care and prioritize yourself within your day-to-day, and that's so important. As I say that I haven't gotten a haircut since October. That's so
So
important. Those are just
it
little
is.
ways to take care of yourself.
I agree. I agree. And I don't feel like it has to be a grand gesture. I mean, certainly
No.
no problem with getting a massage now and again or whatever, but it doesn't need to be like I am doing exclusive self-care today. Like I think
No.
sprinkling me anyway, sprinkling those throughout the week in big and small ways completely keeps me sane.
And just doing it when you feel you need it
Right.
before you hit the
Or
burnout. Yeah, because
absolutely.
I think you can see all the sunshine, which is very rare in Oregon. And
No.
so this week we've gotten sunshine and, I was going to start my day the other day and I was just like, you know what? It's a good time to go to the park. I'm going to go with Fern. I'll come back and get back to work. But like her and I both need to get out. And it was the best walk we have ever had. And it felt so good.
Ah,
But it was exactly what I needed to fill my cup. And, that's not how it is every day. Some
yeah,
days
I agree.
I'm just like, I need to do a little yoga. I want to read. I want to drink my coffee. Don't talk to me. But
Yeah.
I think acknowledging that, every day is different and it is a start of a new day and it depends on how we choose to move through it, which I know can be a lot with our mental health and, going through depression and anxiety. It all adds up. But I think just learning to be a little kinder to ourselves is so huge because we extend that kindness to our clients, but we
Yeah.
rarely make it back to ourselves. And I am in that boat.
I would say that I'm in that boat as well. I love that some meme or who said it, but about speak to yourself the way you speak to your dog. Like, you're such a good girl. You're
Yeah, I
so
know.
beautiful. You're so perfect. Right. And we don't do that enough for ourselves.
No, we don't. I come in to, Fig and Fern, and I'm like, "Oh, did you need a treat? You're so cute." And I'm like, "Why can't I say
Exactly.
that to myself?" Like, "Oh, did you need a cookie, Mandy?" Like, "Yes, I do."
This is what
I
I
really
do.
do. I'd like to take the day off early too.
Exactly.
Well, okay. So, on the note of just, having these boundaries, what is something that kind of always drill with your students and your staff as far as just like these are the boundaries that you should have set within your business, if you could pick a couple?
Yeah. I think with my staff as well as my students, putting a cap on the amount of time that you devote to, say, daily client notes or something like that. Like I tell my clients that I will write their training plan between that I work on training plans for clients between the hours of 7 a.m. and 9 a.m. Period. And they know that if they email me or, nobody has my number, so that very few people text me, uh, if they try to get in touch with me outside of the 7 to 9 AM, they know they probably won't hear from me until the next day at 7 or 9 AM. Like, those are the times that I'm devoting to getting feedback, getting notes, getting support, etcetera. And what that allows me to do is concentrate really my energies and my time on all of what I need to do in a way that's not just like email barrage 24/7, you
Right.
know?
Or checking in intermittently throughout your day, breaking you away from other things.
Right, right. And some people are morning people, I am. Some people are night people, that works too. But
Right.
or that whatever. But having a devoted amount of time to various projects, particularly clients, I think is really important because it can become so overwhelming to be like, I'm just gonna check on that
Oh,
email one more time, or I'm gonna just look in their spreadsheet one more time, or I'm gonna see what happened with their mission
it's
just this afternoon.
tempting.
It's tempting, and I think if there's one boundary that I try to express to my students and my staff and try to uphold myself, it's to maintain those parameters for various aspects of my business. And that's true for, I have an hour on a certain day that is just admin stuff or just
Oh,
marketing
same.
stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that that really helps.
Was there the reason you set that in place, was there a reason for that? Or did you notice some
Oh
kind of
yeah.
overbleed into the other things for that?
Yeah, there was definitely a reason, before I started teaching CSATs, when I had all of those separation anxiety clients, I was just pulled in I had no boundaries. So I
Oof.
learned
Yep.
very, very, very much the hard way what it's like to not have any boundaries in place and to just be like pulled between this client and that client and oh no, this dog and oh I need this and there's some sort of emergency here. And my husband was the one that cracked me up years ago that, I was getting calls and texts and emails and oh my gosh, this happened today and that. And I was like, I can't. And he said, honey, there is no such thing as a separation anxiety emergency. Just don't leave the dog alone. And there is no emergency, right?
Yes.
And he why are these clients reaching out to you as though this is emergent and they have to speak with you right at this moment? And what's so cool is that because we work with our clients so regularly, for 5 days a week, even something that is emergent is going to be addressed within a day because we have a
Your
system of
protocols, yeah.
yeah, we have a system of communication where people know exactly when to get a hold of us, how to get a hold of us, and when they can expect a response. I think it's important.
With those boundaries that you have in place, which I think are so necessary, do you ever experience or have you experienced pushback from clients with that? And how do you typically handle that pushback? Because I know there are some people.
Yeah. There are some people. I think some of it, I don't get a ton of pushback. And I think some
Good.
of it is the way it's setting expectations from the very beginning and then not breaking your own boundaries, right? So
That's a hard.
I have that's a hard one. Right. So when you get the text at 3 o'clock in the afternoon and you've stated clearly that between the hours of 7 and whatever, or when you can be contacted, you have to either not respond or you have to say, looking forward to talking to you about this in our shared workbook tomorrow between the hours of 7 and 9. And it's hard. It's hard. But I think when you start out with good boundaries in the beginning, people just kind of they're
They know
like,
what to
oh, I
expect.
know what to expect. Yeah. And I think that's why we don't get a lot of pushback. Now, I do know that, I mean, everybody works in a different way. I know that there are plenty of CSATs and several on my staff that are like, just text me if you have a question. But they have boundaries in their life that are in place in other aspects, right? That they have some flexibility of time to
That's
be able
good.
to put out fires and so forth. So, but that isn't me. That is not me.
So awesome. I love that you're just like, "Nope, that's not what we're doing."
Not what we're doing here.
God, it has been so awesome just talking about mental health with you and picking through your brain. I feel like every time I do these interviews, it's like it helps me move through my own day and remember to prioritize my own mental health. So, thank you so much for that. Before I let you go, I wanted to ask, do you have any books, self-help, business, or the related kind that you found beneficial that you might want to suggest to others?
There's so many, and nothing, in a way, nothing really comes to mind because, funny enough, here's another little bit of self care. For about a year, or maybe two, maybe almost full time of the pandemic, I had been committed to reading totally non important, total fiction. And it's funny because I mean, like, I can understand your question. Like, what's that great book that helps you with self care and boundaries? And I'm like, you know what my self care is? Reading about,
Something that
some
gets you out of your head.
something that gets me out of my head. So I haven't really been reading the hard stuff, if you will, for a while. So I can't
That's not a
remember
bad
some of that.
answer.
But yeah, it's fun. It's fun. And you can be transported pretty quickly in reading a couple of chapters of a book, right? And I would take that any day over watching television. But I mean, that's just me. I'm not a big television person. I mean, an occasional movie and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm a definite reader, and it's been fun. It's been a fun journey just reading about random enjoyable things. Yeah,
That's the
yeah.
thing, it's the more immersive books, I love that, and I love that we're talking about reading because I feel the same way because my routine I've created for myself, because I am a highly anxious person, I most mornings, my head, because my office is like a railroad kinda room, so you walk through
Oh,
my
okay.
office from the bedroom to the living room. I always have to walk through work, and I hate it when I start my day, and so my brain will just start going of everything, and so I tell myself I need to read at least 1 to 2 chapters of whatever book I'm reading in the morning when I have my coffee. That is what I do, and it helps me set the tone for my day because 'cause I'm not getting in my head. Whereas when I notice when I don't read, I am just a mess the rest of the day.
Good for you. I love that.
You.
I love that.
Well, this has been such a lovely conversation. I hope that so many of our listeners find value in this and find ways to start delegating and prioritizing themselves within their business, whatever works for them. It's just been such a pleasure having you on and getting your insight on this topic.
Well, thank you, Mandy. It's been a lot of fun for me too. It's exciting to talk about something non-work related, even though it is work related. I
Right.
understand, you know, I'm so used to doing podcasts and stuff and talking about separation anxiety dogs. And, this is a different topic that I think is so important in our industry.
Good. Well, I hope to have you on for more future episodes because I'm sure there's so much more I could pick through your brain with.
I would love it.